Good morning and welcome back to Global Entertainment News TV. I am your host Busola, and it is another day to take a look at what is making the headlines this morning in our newspaper review segment. Let's start with the Punch. 2027 Presidency. Makinde orders to fight for PDP tickets. 2027 Presidency. Makinde orders to fight for PDP tickets. Moving on to the next. Party zones 2027 tickets to South. Party zones 2027 tickets to South. Up to next. Obi may consider PDP return, says Obedient. Obi may consider PDP return, says Obedient. To next one. APC insists opposition will lose in 2027. APC insists opposition will lose in 2027. To next headline. 13% derivation fund ease oil producing state debt by 611 billion naira. 30% derivation fund ease oil producing state debt by 611 billion naira. Moving on to this. NAS vows critical assets shut down over ASU strike threat. NAS vows critical assets shut down over ASU strike threat. Up to the next. External reserves project to hit $45 billion by year end. External reserves project to hit $45 billion by year end. To the next headline. Osun, Lagos lead as 1.3 million complete voter card pre-registration. Osun, Lagos lead as 1.3 million complete voter card pre-registration. Moving on to the next. ECOWAS to raise $2.5 billion for 260,000 man counter-terrorism force. ECOWAS to raise $2.5 billion for 260,000 man counter-terrorism force. To the next headline. Military retirees demand pay rise, national honors. Military retirees demand pay rise, national honors. Moving on to next. Despite federal government promise, Ekiti, Ondo, federal roads still impossible. Despite federal government promise, Ekiti, Ondo, federal roads still impassable. Moving on to next. Power generation stuck at 5,500 megawatts as Bayelsa gets regulatory authority. Power generation stuck at 5,500 megawatts as Bayelsa gets regulatory authority. That's it for the Punch. We move to the Vanguard. PDP zones presidency to South, says APC won't play fair. PDP zones presidency to South, says APC won't play fair. Moving on to next. International syndicate exploits security gaps to steal crude, says NNPCL boss. International syndicate exploits security gaps to steal crude, says NNPCL boss. To next headline. Premium Trust Bank meets 200 billion naira capital requirement. Premium Trust Bank meets 200 billion naira capital requirement. Up to next. Family, Lagos hospital clash over patients withheld remains, ICU charge. Family, Lagos hospital clash over patients withheld remains, ICU charge. To next one. 5 journalists among 20 killed in Israel strike on Gaza hospital. 5 journalists among 20 killed in Israel strike on Gaza hospital. Up to next. Okigwe massacre. Police go after assassins. Okigwe massacre. Police go after assassins. To next. Crisis looms in varsity over salary structure review. Crisis looms in varsity over salary structure review. Moving on to the next. Ogudu Ifako Bridge. Gridlock persists despite suspension of work. Ogudu Ifako Bridge. Gridlock persists despite suspension of work. To the next one. State of the Nation. Minister Ezekwesili clash at MBA confirm. State of the Nation. Minister Ezekwesili clash at MBA confirm. That's it for the Vanguard. Move to the Nation. PDP knocks out Saraki Bala from 2027 presidential race. PDP knocks out Saraki Bala from 2027 presidential race. Up to next. Lagos, Osun, Ogun top online CVR. Lagos, Osun, Ogun top online CVR. Up to next. Ex-policemen to occupy National Assembly September 29. Ex-policemen to occupy National Assembly September 29. To the next one. Soji Ojo Ezekwesili differs on President's economic reforms. Soji Ojo Ezekwesili differs on President's economic reform. Moving on to the next. MAN seeks suspension of customs 4% FOB charge. MAN seeks suspension of customs 4% FOB charge. To the next headline. Oil theft through pipeline bust halted, says Ojulari. Oil theft through pipeline bust halted, says Ojulari. Up to next. 260,000 ECOWAS forces to fight terrorism in sub-region. 260,000 ECOWAS forces to fight terrorism in sub-region. Moving on to next. Ondo Tertiary Institution workers lament non-payment of salaries. Ondo Tertiary Institution workers lament non-payment of salary. That's it for the nation. We move to the Guardian. 2027. Atiku signals interest as PDP heads for showdown with Tinubu. 2027. Atiku signals interest as PDP heads for showdown with Tinubu. Moving on to next. US defends new social media vetting for visa application. US defends new social media vetting for visa applicants. To the next headline. Family laments poor emergency response as woman die in Lagos Lagoon crash. Family laments poor emergency response as woman dies in Lagos Lagoon crash. Up to next. 795 financial institutions among 1,369 firms facing data breach probes. 795 financial institutions among 1,369 firms facing data breach probes. To the next headline. Southwest lead in new voters exercise as Southeast records lowest turnout. Southwest lead in new voter exercise as Southeast records lowest turnout. Up to next. Tinubu seek stronger Nigeria-Brazil ties, ink Basel deal. Tinubu seeks stronger Nigeria-Brazil ties, ink Basel deal. Moving on to next. NDLEA busts drug cartel that framed Nigeria pilgrims in Saudi Arabia. NDLEA busts drug cartel that framed Nigerian pilgrims in Saudi Arabia. Up to next. Federal government introduced mandatory ethics criminal screening for teachers. Federal government introduced mandatory ethics criminal screening for teachers. To the next headline. ICPC recovers NI from Kano officials as state dismisses claim. ICPC recovers NI from Kano officials as state dismisses claim. To the next one. Manufacturers lament as return of FOB levy cause a stir. Manufacturers lament as return of FOB levy cause a stir. That's it for the newspaper review segment. Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us again next time. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more news and updates on Global Entertainment News TV. Once again, I've been your host, Rusola, and have a wonderful day. Bye.